What's that happening?
I can't call it.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm glad it's Friday. I'll just say
Oh
that.
my God.
It's just, yeah.
First of all, I said earlier about being Thursday. Like, today's Friday. I was like, oh shit, I forgot. Like, yes. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you.
So, let me try to think here. First of all, what you got? Let me ask you that first. What you got?
Like, what is a topic?
Yeah, what you got?
Oh, you throwing me under the bus.
No. I got something. Let me see what you got, though.
Let's see. I do. Well, I think I was going to talk to the people about TikTok, but then I was like,
people?
the people that listen.
Oh,
it's like what people? What people?
What about TikTok?
I'm too old for TikTok.
Oh, I'm way too old for TikTok.
And I sit up here.
Do you have a TikTok?
I do have a TikTok account. I don't even know. I don't post.
I think I downloaded it because people send me videos and it wouldn't play.
Watch it. But outside of that, I'm real careful. Like, is this on the TikTok? And you know when you're old, you start calling it the Facebook, the TikTok, the Instagram, the Gram.
Instagram.
The Gram. I'm trying to see if I had any other ones on here that I might have missed. No, so go ahead. What you got?
No, I was thinking about what you just said. Like,
about the TikTok?
Yeah. So you know, like you don't be posting videos.
No, I don't even post on Instagram.
Oh, I'm
never Facebook. I'm a Facebook. Yeah. Like that's it. Like
so when we decide to go visual, what are we doing?
Like, what do you mean?
Like when we take this podcast and we go visual, are we not doing Instagram and
TikTok we're gonna have to do all that. We're just gonna have to pull my kids down here so they can tutorial us.
They can do it.
They can help us figure it out so we get good at it. We're smart people. I think we'll get there and it'll be Gen X. problem. Yeah. We'll Gen X. That I will say this: of all the alpha I get, but I'm going to tell you, baby boomers. I'm telling you, I bought a shirt 3 days ago that says Generation X on it because it just sounds powerful, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Just Gen X. Gen X. Dum dum dum.
Yes. We were the ones who raised ourselves. We were the ones who, like, and I think about my mom used to work 2:30 to 11 p. We came home. You had to fix your own food. So I know how to cut bologna, make a TP so it
don't curl up.
Yeah. So you didn't do that. First of all, you had to get in the house, so you had your key. So
I wore my key on my little. I had a little key, one of the little hooks.
You had a little carabiner.
I put it on my pants.
Okay. Latchkey. We're true latchkey. We're first latchkey. Yeah. First true latchkey.
Let yourself in. Lock the door.
Let yourself in. Lock the door.
Don't answer the door for nobody.
Don't let nobody in my house. Right. And we would sneak in our friends. You know, not to do nothing crazy. We just to have company. Once. Yeah.
I got caught with a boy one time.
Really?
Yeah. Not doing anything.
No, just
but
in your house.
He should not have been in the house.
Wow.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
Who's like? Do
you know him?
Yeah.
Yes.
So. Oh, that's funny. Was it SM?
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yep. My mom was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. No.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I lived to tell about it, but that's who it was.
Oh, that's hilarious. I didn't know that.
Yep.
And then you had to clean the kitchen, do all your chores, and we had to put ourselves to bed. My mom didn't get home till we didn't have a car, so my mom caught the bus home. So my mom wouldn't get home till like midnight.
Yeah.
Like, this was...
You were by yourself.
We were by ourselves.
My dad,
for years.
He golfed and stuff, too.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm out of here. And it's so funny because I just fuss at the kids. I'm like, I'm starting to try to implement a little more of how I was raised because it's insane if you don't. And I'm like, when we grew up, kitchen was closed at 7:30. And it was closed the next day.
Looking for?
What you looking for is closed.
Yeah,
it's
closed.
Been cleaned up.
Once you wipe... And I'm going to tell you this. If my mother came home at midnight and that kitchen wasn't clean, your ass was getting up to clean it.
Out of the bed to clean it up.
Waking you up violently.
Violently?
Screaming or grabbing you, like cutting on the lights, yelling, get your A downstairs and get this damn kitchen clean now. And I mean, like, wipe off the stove, like you said, wipe the stainless steel, whatever, the sink, rinse the rag, fold it over.
Put it along the thing.
Yeah.
And clean up.
Oh, yeah. And that was every night for you went to bed.
And 7:30 kitchen's closed. And I'm going to tell you, it was pretty much 7:30 for us.
It's probably why we didn't have obesity.
Yeah, right? I think that's a big part of it because we fasted. Well, we were fasting whether we went. I'm like, oh, I'm hungry.
7:30, kitchen's closed.
That's where my mom was with it.
Damn.
And so, like, if you wanted your little cookies or treats,
and I hear my son at 2:00 in the morning waking up.
They eat any old time of day. I'm like, what are you doing? I'll fix a snack. I'm like, dang, really? You're fixing a snack? It's 11:15 at night, sitting around eating a bowl of cereal.
And my son has to be at work at like 6:30 in the morning. Yeah. My son leaves out at 6:30. I've heard that dude 2:00 in the morning. I hear the microwave going on and everything. I'm like, what is that dude doing?
No. They don't care. They're like, I'm hungry, I shall eat. I don't know, but yeah, that's crazy.
That is too funny. Well, actually, that kind of aligns with what I was thinking about. That is too funny. We drank out of water hoses. You just Generation X, like the greatest generation. Tom Brokaw was wrong. The greatest generation is the Generation X.
I do believe there was there's more adaptability. I believe, we talked about in another podcast, like we had both my parents worked. They worked in rotation, so somebody was home. But there were periods when no one was home. My mom worked from 7 to 3. My dad worked from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay.
And then my dad worked from 3 p.m. to midnight.
Okay.
So
sometimes he was golfing.
There you go. On it most days, my brother was like, "How many people can golf every day?" Got 3 kids. My dad.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he golfed a lot. Well, definitely Thursdays and Fridays. He was out on the course. And even then, he'd just send me to the neighbor's house. Like, I'm going golfing. And go send me to Mrs. Kleeman. And she'd take care of me till my mom got old. And then when I got old enough, I just got left. This was when I was little. But by 10, I had a latchkey. I was home a lot on the weekends by myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's too funny.
In the afternoons.
Okay, so then let me ask you a question.
Okay.
The thought or my thought process was the authentic you.
Okay.
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 I believe there's DNA you.
Okay.
And then there is life lessons you.
You have to clarify it too.
DNA Kim.
Are you talking about my DNA or are we hypothetical DNA?
I'm just using you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Like DNA Damon.
Yeah.
Very gregarious, talk to everybody.
Okay.
DNA Kim, same way.
Yeah.
But DNA Kim, and I remember this about you. I told this story years ago. If someone gave you $100 and said, "Hold this for me," 3 years from now, you'd have the same $100.
I'm not spending it.
You wouldn't touch it.
I'm not replacing it because I used it.
Yeah,
You're right about that.
Right.
Yep.
That's DNA Kim.
Okay.
Okay. But life lesson Kim is what we've learned along the way, right? Mm-hmm. So life lesson Kim is because of how you were raised. You just brought it up. There are things that you moved out at you had your own apartment. Mm-hmm. Like you had your own apartment, you had your own car.
Yep.
At what, 22, 23?
21. I moved out and was going to set myself up.
So that's kind of life lesson, Kim.
Yeah.
Also.
Okay.
That's a DNA, Kim. Mm-hmm. Responsible, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But you also saw it like, hey, you live below your means.
Yeah.
Like your parents were not over the top.
No.
Okay.
No.
So I'll give you mine. DNA Damon, I talk. Mm-hmm. I like people. I like company. Life lesson Damon, don't yell at me. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because my mother was a yeller.
Yeah.
And I don't like, I'm very hypersensitive. Yeah, do not yell at me, like ever. So it comes back to my question is authentically you, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say in relationships, I know we talk a lot about this. In relationships, you got to be authentically you.
Right.
You do. And I know I believe that.
Right.
So if I was with someone who wanted to yell, that's not going to work for me.
Right.
Right. Now I know I'm hypersensitive. Like I know my PTSD is real.
Yeah.
But I also know it ain't changing.
No. And I think even with that, PTSD or not, you shouldn't yell. Like it's not a great.
But some people, that's just who they are because they came in an environment and they yell and they're loud and they're, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And being loud ain't the same as yelling.
Yeah.
Like you can be a loud Italian. I'm going to sound a little prejudiced here, but you know what I mean? So I say Italian talk with their hands.
Black people are loud.
Or black people. That's a better example. So everybody's like, what are you trying to say?
Right.
Well, yes, we can be boisterously, just enthusiastically loud.
Yes.
Not angry loud. You're talking about yelling. And that, so yes.
Okay.
So I think they're a little bit different. But you know that you're speaking more in terms of yelling than boisterous.
So let me go back to this one. I'm going to go back to DNA, Kim.
Okay.
Very, very responsible financially.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Could you be with someone who was a spendthrift? Like just because you're like, hold on, we got 3 kids, is a mortgage.
Taken care of.
Right?
Yeah.
And what if they're authentically like good time guy? Like, hey, let's have a good time. Like, you get what I'm saying?
I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do that. I like shoes.
Right.
So I think you can have a thing. I think you can be married to someone who has a thing. But if that person isn't putting the household first and foremost, like this is the responsibility to make sure all of these things are checked off.
Yeah.
We're gonna. I'm a saver, and it's real hard to be with someone who doesn't save.
Okay.
I'll just leave it there.
So could someone allow you to? Oh, not allow. Could someone, do you think, could push you to step out of your authentic saver mode, or make you feel bad for being a saver?
No, because for me, a solution, and I subscribe to this because as long as I've worked. And I worked in a setting, like I worked for the city of Columbus. Anybody knows I worked there for like really, actually a young age, right? I was 17 when I started working there.
Yeah.
So by the time you speak on 21, we're talking healthcare benefits. Like I was living my adulthood, adult life, and with no intention to go back to my parents. So, but I remember hearing over and over and over again, and they still say this when you start jobs. They still say this to young people: pay yourself first. Mm-hmm. So I was always someone that said, I'm putting, and now when I in City of Columbus days, it might have been $50 a pay period. It might have been $150 a pay period. But I always believed in paying yourself first. But I do believe that you can pay yourself first. Make sure that you have a plan, for your future. Whether that is, I want to be able to buy a washer if I need it. Things happen, and a roof, deductibles there. I have to make a repair on my car. But I also think you can stop and smell the roses a little bit and enjoy the fruits of labor and have a good dinner out. And go on a vacation and have experiences. Because, last year I really upped my, my show game.
You don't miss a concert.
No.
You do not miss a concert.
I hadn't always been that way, but old Kim.
You do not miss a concert.
If you asked me if that was authentic Kim, that's probably authentic Kim.
Which one?
Concerts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always kind of like, So I feel like I'm trying to gravitate more towards like,
Okay, hold on. You just said something.
Okay. But yeah.
In the first 10 years of your marriage, your pragmatism, this is good. No, seriously, your pragmatism of putting family and finances first, you did not go to concerts as much.
No, I don't think we did.
For a
few reasons.
So what happens if you're married and what are you, 20, how many years into your?
24.
You're 24 years into your marriage. And now all of a sudden you don't miss a concert.
Well, I don't.
No. You don't miss a concert.
I have not gone to every concert that has come through town. I saw several concerts this past year.
You have not missed concerts you want to see.
If I want to see them, I go. Yes. I'm better about now making sure I do that. Yes.
So now what happens is if your person is just now, God, this is good. No, only because you are now at a place in your life through due diligence and smart choices.
Sure.
You don't miss concerts. What if you're with somebody who doesn't want to go to concerts and you weren't going to concerts in the beginning because you were being pragmatic and they thought you just didn't like concerts? And now you want to go to concerts and it's like, God darn, every time I turn around, you want to do something.
Yeah, right? I kind of feel like, and I'll own this, I feel like it was probably several factors when they were younger. Do you have a babysitter? Somebody gonna stay with your kids so you can go? So I remember a couple concerts that we did that were just like, it was a Christmas gift. So I was like, okay, I know we saw Elton John. It was a gift of some kind. But now, like last year, when I saw Janet Jackson, literally, I was like, "Oh crap, she's coming!" And I don't even know if I can get tickets yet. So I had to get them on Vivid Seats or whatever it's called. But I was literally like, "Oh, I'm going to Janet Jackson. Do you want to go?" So that's where we're different now. I'm more.
But you're in your authentic.
Yes.
Lane.
You don't have to, but I'm going. But yes,
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you want to go? Now, being authentic is probably easier at 50 than it is at 25.
Sure.
Because what if your person didn't want to go? Would you have not gone?
I probably skipped some. The very fact that I'm 25 years into my marriage, and that was the first time I saw. You know how many times Janet Jackson. I wanted to see Janet when she was all sexy and belly out and butt. And I saw Janet in a robe because she's how she's aged. She's a little more modest.
Yes.
I would have loved to have seen Velvet Rope or
Gotcha.
Janet's tour. So yes, I think there was a place where I wasn't as much in my skin to be able to say, yeah, I want to do this. Do you want to do it or you don't want to do it?
Yeah. So let's look at me. I'm a car guy.
Okay.
Always have been.
Right.
But I don't buy cars because I have kids. Now at 50, I can make choices to say, because my eyeballs are open now.
Yeah,
like I was like,
right. You don't have car seats. You don't have to consider.
Yeah. And so I said to my son, I was like, I've always wanted a Porsche. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I laughed, but I was like, but I've always wanted a Porsche.
Yeah.
Authentically, that's me.
Yeah.
But someone late to me, because I'm not married, could see that as reckless or right. But staying in your authentic person. Oh, see, this goes back to one of our previous conversations about being happy.
Well, and here's something you bring cars up, because look at me. I drove a minivan for a long time. Long time, like 15 years.
Yeah, you're like longer than I had to.
Longer, yeah. Then I moved to a CRV, which really, if I'm honest, I always wanted that Telluride. I should have brought that Telluride. I moved through a car, still etching, kind of gravitating towards moving away from. I know this probably sounds really crazy to people who are listening, but when I got rid of that minivan, I should have just owned that I wanted the Telluride. But I still didn't authentically.
You didn't make the jump.
I didn't make the jump until I was like, "What the hell am I doing?" I made an unnecessary jump, as you know, ended up with a lemon, literally. That I should have just made the jump then, and I didn't. But it's okay. But I think it's baby steps sometimes. Like you're discovering, like 50, the F at 50s. I think you're discovering at 50, what do I like? What don't I like? Why do I do this way? For a decade or 5 years or however long, we're sitting around doing what we think socially we're supposed to do.
Do you think it's hard? Okay, so now we're going to say there's rediscovering your authentic self.
Sure. I'm a car person. You know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We used to go to car shows.
Yeah. And I'm not married to someone who is. So that's hard, because that's like concerts.
He didn't care about cars at all. It's a mode of transportation.
Yeah. And I absolutely think it's so much more than that.
Oh, now you're really driving it home.
Yeah.
How do you stay in your authentic space when your person is in their authentic space and the two don't align?
Listen, you tell me. I ain't got that figured out yet.
Like,
yeah.
Because here you drive this badass SUV.
Well, he's not driving junk. But he got a Subaru, so he went for the long haul.
And that's what I'm saying, because But I'll tell you this, I know people who don't have the same value in cars, right? My brother would keep a car forever, probably like Nate. You buy it and you put 1 million miles on it, and when that number of repairs versus cars is that's when they make the decision.
Yeah,
you are like, every 2-3 years I want something different.
We haven't arrived to what that's going to look like yet, because that's authentic Kim in the last few years. But that's my preference. Yes, I don't want to deal with the hassles of repairs.
Right. You ain't buying wipers. You ain't doing it. Okay.
I'd rather not. I mean, I don't know that.
But that's the authentic you that got pushed down because your children, all that became the greater priority. Sure. So you're driving. How many miles on that Honda?
182,000 on that one.
So you're driving a 180,000 mile minivan.
Yeah.
For the sake of the family.
Yeah.
knowing damn well you be like, I should be driving a BMW.
No, for a long time. Yeah, listen,
or whatever.
Yeah, right. And I still, I mean, there are cars that I would explore that I still feel like I'm personally being money conscious. I know that probably sounds terrible, but like I haven't ever owned a BMW. Look, I had to test drive your son's. But yes. Like I don't have a BMW.
Yes. We drove it yesterday, Chief.
Oh, that's a nice car.
Yeah,
that's a very nice car.
Yes. My son drives a BMW. Yes, I don't. No, but my son also makes good money. No. And doesn't have kids.
Well, and then that's
so I was like, right. Now is the time when you can.
That's it. Yeah. And I think when I was single, and that's not to take anything away from being married. But when I was single, I tried to create the space, like, you know, and maybe it didn't look like a BMW, but you know, I had the Civic with the spoiler. Like I still worked within my framework, frame of what brought me joy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think being authentic is a tough thing.
Can you be okay? You have daughters.
I do.
This is a good one. Do they cook?
Yes.
Do you think it's okay if they said, I don't cook?
I've literally just had this conversation. I love my kids because I had this conversation with the three of them the other day.
Okay.
And none of them plan to cook. Right now, I'm telling you. McKenna's like, yeah, I'm not going to bring that into a relationship value. She's also not changing her last name. I don't know if I should be saying the names. It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to edit that later.
No. That's all right. Because she, you know what? She owns it.
No, yeah. And that's pretty much it right there. And I think that's the key component is owning you. Male or female, owning you. But no, all three of them.
Okay.
All three of them are like, even I'm going to cut you off here. Now, even my son is like, I'm not looking for that. That's not a value to him for a woman.
But what if, okay. So then let's say I raise my sons who, they have a mother who cooks quite often. And the thing is going into is they're just not yoked, right? Because if my son is looking for traditional roles from a woman, and your daughter, like I'm just making an example, if he met your daughter and she goes, I ain't changing my last name and I ain't cooking, they just don't. She has to find the person
that matches her. But that's tough because my husband knew that mess when we got together.
Well, I'm okay.
I think what we do, and I can go into the spiritual side of this, we mess all this up by sex. So we're in this space. That's another. I won't even go any further with that. But I do think whether we subconsciously think the person's going to change, whether we I don't know if that's exactly where our mind goes. But I don't think I pulled the wool over nobody's eyes. That it wasn't my preference to do it. Tina tells me all the time, like, I've known you your whole life, and that's not a priority for you. And my mother cooked. But it wasn't a thing that I worried about. And maybe maybe it was just resources or, you're single. Why would you? I did simple things when I lived on my own. And the kids even recognized, like, well, you cooked more in our first house. Like every house I cooked a little less. And I think
and your kitchen gets nicer and nicer.
and the kitchen's got nicer and nicer. So I know I never forget that time. You were like, why do you got nice? Not me, but I think one of your exes was like, I want this big, beautiful kitchen. You're like, why you don't cook?
I was like, why? Yeah, we were dating and we were having a conversation of having a future together. And I remember we were looking at houses and she was like, oh, I want a big, and I was like, you don't cook.
That's not what they're for.
Yeah.
You gather.
It's not for jewelry.
Yeah.
Like.
So they do, where we've all actually talked this summer about cooking more as a family and meal prepping, because my middle child does meal prep with her workouts and stuff. She's really finicky about what she eats.
Okay.
So she meal preps on Sunday for the week. And it's weird because, it's not weird. I think it's pretty remarkable that she does it. So we've had this discussion that I would participate with them. Because here's the thing about cooking. Authentic Kim doesn't like to be ridiculed or teased or judged. So I feel like that's a space where it would be good for us because we're all in different spaces with our abilities. And I think when you walk into a space to try, like, oh, we're going to try this recipe together, you got to have vulnerability that you're not going to get judged.
Okay.
I know that's off subject.
No, that's fair enough.
That's a part of it.
Yeah, because I remember, like, I'll give you an example. My brother is in town as we speak, and I put it out on our group chat, and there was someone I invited, and they were like, what are you having? I said, we're going to Fisher's.
Yeah.
Like, we're picking up Fisher's to eat. And they were like, really?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, really, because I ain't cooking shit.
Yeah,
but I don't cook a lot. But because I'm by myself, my kids are gone and grown and working, It's easy for me to just go over, sit at the table with roosters and eat and go home.
And I don't know anything. Not only do I not think anything's wrong with that, but why do we put such a stigma on guys versus girls who feel that way? Well, I say the same thing.
It's just me and you.
It's just why dirty up the kitchen?
Yeah.
And I will be honest. In my remembrances, when I did cook on a regular basis, my kids never liked it. They're like, oh, we don't like fish. Well, that's what we're eating because that's what spaghetti's one thing. I remember making a lot of spaghetti, but like anytime I wanted to do like, oh, I'm gonna make just a brown rice and a vegetable and make some cod or some salmon, they pick through it like and that does a lot. I don't think women admit enough that when someone's like, oh, I hate this, we don't want to hear that crap. It's like saying you're not good enough. And I think, and I don't put that on them. They're like, you little didn't know any better. But I bet you if you ask a lot of women, they get tired of hearing their kids complain about what's being made.
First of all, everybody wants to hear what's for dinner.
Yeah.
Like that's the $1 million question every day of your life.
Yep.
What's for dinner?
What's for dinner?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
So,
okay. So that was So that was the thing about authentic. So you have raised children. Wow. Who? No. This is good. That they don't even have to get into the do I want to or do I not want to. They're flat out like, let's say your daughter's to a place where she's like, I'm not that woman.
Yes.
Like, I am not going to be, oh, honey, let me, make you something to eat, whatever. No.
Or fix your plate. She ain't doing that. I mean, she might fix his plate if his foot is broken, but she's not. When I talk to them, and I don't even know how we got on it, they all are very, like, that expectation, and I can't know if it's this generation, I'm only speaking for my kids. Mm-hmm. I think there are a handful of other kids I could say feel the same, because I talk to kids at our high school that are like, yeah, I don't care if my wife works, if she works and she wants me to be home, I'm okay with it. And I know that there's still some stigma generationally if there's some guy sitting at home with the kids and the wife is working, where their generation, they don't care about that. Their role thing is not, there's no role thing for the kids of this generation as much.
God, I've done a number on my kids.
You think they're gonna want somebody who can cook? Oh yeah, you did a number on your kids.
Yeah.
And they're gonna.
Remember that post I posted on Facebook a while ago, and I said, "Y'all are not raising good wives," and I was like, "I'm raising."
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
So I wrote a post,
your men to be
and
husbands.
I said, I am raising my sons to be great husbands, but y'all are not raising your daughters to be good wives. Mm. And people went hard on me.
I mean, they should have.
Did you?
No.
Oh, you held back?
I held back. I don't agree with it, but I think, we set ourselves
Let's talk about it.
All right. Listen.
I'm saying is, why is it that my sons are being raised to be what I consider to be good husbands? And I'm going to go by the basics, right? Providers, protectors, men, and I mean a man who can lead his family. Mm-hmm. What are the basics that the woman, and I know this is a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, because I really don't think that men really process how much of the emotional load that a woman carries for her family, her husband and her children, the emotional load. And I'm not going to sit here and debate with you with whether working outside the home and being the provider and the societal pressures that creates to make sure mm-hmm. that your family has food, water, shelter, mm-hmm. that her ring looks big enough and that you look like you loved her enough.
And you got to live safe. You got to make enough money to be living in a place that's safe.
Yeah, all of that.
You have to have a car that's reliable.
Yes,
So I'm saying it's not even about, because you can go food, water, shelter.
Yeah,
a Chevy Chevette is a car.
Right.
It ain't reliable.
No.
There are places we do not want our children to live because of safety or go to school. Mm-hmm. And so there is a pressure to at least provide. It's not bare minimum. It's bare minimum plus.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So where is the bare minimum plus for the woman?
What do you think she's responsible for?
I don't know.
I'm telling you.
Bare minimum? Bare minimum?
Bare minimum?
Yes.
Bare minimum is you change your baby's diapers and you don't beat them.
Let's say before children. Because you're going to get married and have life together before children.
Before I had kids, I had a job. We were dinks.
Okay.
So we were both working.
What I'm saying is.
Okay.
You don't think you had a bare minimum role as the wife? A bare minimum.
I think your home
is a reflection of the woman.
And I think that part, I always cover it well in that space, so we can come home, that you can lay your head.
So you clean?
No, well, yes, but I mean, it's still beyond that.
I said bare minimum plus.
Bare minimum, you cook clean. I cooked clean.
That's what I just said.
But that can only get you so far in a space where that's
bare minimum plus.
What's the plus part? If you're looking for someone and your goal,
I said bare minimum is a Chevette. Bare minimum, you could live in squalor.
I think it's interpretive.
But there's a bare minimum plus.
Because there are some people. I remember having a confrontation with someone at my church over the fact that I didn't make my man a plate. I'm like, one man cares. Woman. Yeah. She was like, you don't make your man a plate. I was like, my man don't want me to make him a plate. He knows how much he wants to eat, or what he's going to take off the burner. So I never did that. Now, where are we creating a space that says, we say bare minimum? That's the hard part with women, and I don't say that's interpretive, but we're creating a space that you're saying she cooks, she cleans, and that's the bare minimum. But you can also end up with a dude who doesn't care about those things.
Okay, what would those be?
What are their bare minimums?
Yeah.
That to me, it really goes back to, and I know this is a different conversation. It's really what your love languages are. If your love language, and I'm suspecting you are acts of service. Is that
but I'm trying to figure out what else is there. What could be more bare than cooking clean?
Screwing.
Well, we're gonna do that.
Maybe. like, what if you were with a woman who don't like doing that?
What man was gonna marry a woman who don't want to have sex?
Well, there's a lot of men who apparently marry women who don't cook, and they overlook. I feel like if you overlooked it in the relationship, dating, then you can't come at this with like what's happening as a marriage.
What I'm saying to you is bare minimum, cooking, cleaning. Right? That's bare minimum.
I don't like this on either side because I feel like this was a post.
Don't you think the man's bare minimum, like, yeah, you got to have a job? That's bare minimum.
I don't see them as quite the same things, but yes. I think if you're saying bare minimum is must work, and you're saying her bare minimum is cook and clean. So.
Right? Yeah.
But if
you raise a daughter who says, I'm not cooking, you're below now bare minimum.
Don't you think that part's interpretive? You're saying that I've always felt like the female component is loosey-goosey.
Could a man say, I'm not working?
No.
Thank you.
But
that's a bare minimum requirement.
Scripturally sound stuff. I don't, but the scripture isn't like she must cook and clean.
Boy, I hope y'all are chiming in because they tore me up on Facebook.
If a man doesn't work, he doesn't eat. It's scriptural role. So that man is you, that man is me. If I'm a single person, I gotta work.
So if I come home and I cook for me, or if I eat a bowl of cereal, I ate.
So if you're in a space that all she's got to do is, what else do you want from her besides cooking and cleaning?
Well, now it goes into companionship support. Like
and I feel like those are the components these children are looking for. I guess that's the direction I want to go in this podcast. That is what these kids today are looking for. When I married, I was well aware of all the ways that I would be able to make sure I ate before I got married. So you telling me
that they didn't have to feed you.
No. So you bringing something to the table that I could already do for myself is making the same argument that you're saying about cooking and cleaning. You could clean the house without a wife, and I could pay my bills without a husband.
But a man cannot say, I'm not working.
I guess I struggle with that for the reason I just said. Like, I feel like that to me can't be the bare minimum.
Can he say...
That can't be the bare minimum.
Okay. Now I'm going to channel my grandfather who says there's no such thing as 50-50.
Okay.
And he said, because in the middle of the night, I'm the one that's got to get up and go check. I get the tiebreaker. If we're equal across the board, you cook, I cook. You clean, I clean. You do laundry, I do laundry. We can go down this list.
Yeah.
But the tiebreaker is that if there's a bump at 2 a.m, who's going down? No, you're not. No, you're not.
I'm going to tell you.
No, you are not. Like you are telling a story.
No, I'd be like,
at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going to go check.
I don't want to get into this. I think that is not a podcast conversation to have. I think that is an assumption that we make in our societal norms to assume that men are always going to check off the boxes for what men do, and women are going to check off the boxes for what women do.
I'm saying, as my grandfather said, I get the extra point. That's what his.
That's making the assumption that I'm not just throw shade even under my parents, but I absolutely know there were some manly things that my mother was doing that my father should have been. If we're talking about manly things, there's things that my dad should have been doing.
I said, you do laundry, I do laundry. You cook, I cook. You take out the trash, I take out the trash. I don't know what else is. I'm saying, I just know you make the bed, I make the bed.
I watched plenty of times where my dad was okay with my mom out there shoveling snow. But he sat on the couch and watched a football game. Now, how do you feel about that?
Terrible.
So what I'm saying to you is that's not an absolute. That's all I am trying to say. And it infuriates.
That's unheard of. That's unheard of.
Listen. I can tell you 3 people right now who have husbands that don't do your bare minimal. And when you say bare minimal, you mean more than working. You mean
yes.
that will hear bump in the night.
I'll give you mine. Okay. I remember in my marriage, we got into an argument over this very thing, the roles. And I said, it is my job to make sure this roof don't leak, these gutters stay cleaned. Like, I was like, I got the big stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember she was like...
And I think that's interpretive, but go ahead.
What's interpretive?
What's the big stuff? Making sure the leaves aren't in the gutter? How about, is my daughter happy? Is my son doing okay? Like, we carry different burdens and responsibilities in our house that aren't quite tangible.
I like, that's your thing. Okay. That's the mom's thing.
It's very clear that there's a traditionalism here. This is why I stayed off your page when you posted that, because
that's your thing.
Yeah, if you have a perspective of a biological expectation that women do this and men do this, then you straight up have a more traditional perspective.
I'm an unapologetic sexist.
So this podcast,
I am an unapologetic sexist. Yes, but I do not believe a woman should be outside shoveling her snow if she has a husband. I do not believe that at all. Right?
Okay. And I'm telling you, there are people that are okay with that.
Okay.
And I think that's where I get hiccups, because how you view the roles of a house is not how a lot of people view the roles of a house. And so definitively, myself included, and probably maybe an observation when I listen to my children, when I listen to other people's children, and when I have relationship conversations with women that are in my circle, I know we've created a space almost to a fault to try to do more than we should outside of our lane. But if I say that, then I'm being a chauvinist on the other side.
Facts.
And it's hard for me. So when a man can start keeping up with the COVID vaccinations, the yearly vaccinations, the school list and supplies, the party gift for their friend, the Christmas gifts every year, when I know I'm sitting around and my husband's just as surprised as the kids about what we get for Christmas.
Absolutely.
I don't want to hear shit about, for me, that balances out my cooking and my cleaning, and I'm sitting up here telling you, well, I think you should be able to have a spouse who, XYZ. There are men out there who think there shouldn't be role assignments.
I don't know these men. I swear to God, I don't know these men.
Yeah, so
I don't know these men.
There's some out there.
But it goes back to what I said. I've been in construction for 20 years. I don't know these men.
Yeah.
I do not know these men who
maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know how we surround ourselves in our day to day.
Yeah, I think if I worked in like
if you worked like at IBM, I know that don't exist.
Yeah, right. I was just getting ready to say, if I worked at like Google.
Yeah, it's probably a different experience. And I mean, I work with people who are like showing guys. They're like, look at him when he did this. Like, isn't this cute? And maybe you do that, but I was just tickled. And he was like, I had 2 weeks of paternity leave, I think. And he was just tickled about like what his son did with this drum. And I watch, that is a house where he probably is the cooker. And it's okay. I do believe the assignments should be whatever you guys work out and negotiate. But I don't like the end all, like guys are expected to work. But to me, when you say men are expected to, if you don't work, if we're going into a place of traditionalism, you saying men have the responsibility to work. Are you going to be with somebody that's not working? No. But I also have babies, and you can't have babies. So to me, there's the same absolutes. If you're a wife who's going to have children,
I gotta give you the babies.
I gotta
give you the babies. And just like I can get a baby somewhere else, you get a baby somewhere else.
Yeah, but you can't be with that person and have a baby with that person without person's consent to have a baby. So she still comes to the table. I don't know. You never commented on that Steve Harvey video that I sent you about this very conversation. Did you watch it when he was like, "This is your job," and he was naming off the things that we still get caught up in?
What Steve Harvey, and I'll say this. Yeah, I'm about to say it. Steve Harvey.
You don't like him?
I don't dislike him. Steve Harvey pandered to women because of his audience. And he had to say the shit that he had to say because he had a woman audience.
So Dr. Phil has a woman audience.
100%.
All the dudes,
all that Dr. Phil bull crap.
All the woke men in the world.
Dr. Phil had to pander to his female audience because who was listening to that crapola?
So what about Oprah? Women audience.
Oprah's living
so you're saying anybody who has a self-awareness and tries to create a space of awareness.
I'm saying is any man who goes on TV that says, "Hey, buddy, it ain't about you, and if you want some, if she don't feel like giving you none, and she's got a baby," he's getting all his women to clap and do all that gay stuff, and like that's because he's pandering to his audience.
And that's why
if he would have came out and said, "Listen, that dude goes to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Is it really hard for you to make a damn sandwich?"
And I'm saying to this man, to this woman, your woman never turns off. The biggest responsibility on the planet is to be a parent, a mom, and she never turns off. Why aren't you helping her with her mental health?
Because she did not go out here and blacktop this driveway and clean out these
gutters. Sometimes she's working an 8-hour job.
And so does the man.
Ugh.
Yeah. And so does a man. That's why you didn't comment on things?
Oh, no.
Because if I had a daughter and she said, I'd be like, "You're never going to get married."
I believe she absolutely will be okay because she's with a generation of men who don't have those. She might not be able to marry your sons.
She can't marry my sons.
But I can tell you there are other guys that are not processing the way you're processing or that you've taught. And there's nothing wrong with that. It goes back to your first point. First of all, we got off from authentic selves.
No, this is perfect because this is the authentic self conversation.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that there is someone for everyone. And it 100%. May not be the right person at first. Maybe you got to try 1 or 2 times or 3 times. Maybe you hit it right. But if you don't have an ability to see that what you bring to the table.
This is coming from a divorced man, so
right, that part.
You can call me out.
That part.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I didn't comment because I don't think this is black and white. I think if you are a black and white person, I don't have if subconsciously you're like, I don't think you should ever shovel. You are in the land of not really embracing or the idea of there are certain things that women, and he is not wrong, there are certain things that women bring to the table a man can never do. When we talk about what's more important or who brings it to the table, there'd be no one on this planet if a woman, you may say, "Well, I make the baby," but she has the baby. She's a part of making the baby, and she has the baby. So if she doesn't have babies, there ain't nobody. There's nobody.
And if he don't give her the babies, there ain't nobody. But this is 50-50.
But the work,
like women always think they own the baby, right? I've always said that.
They do own
like
the
when
baby
I said,
in that way.
Remember I told you, I said this 25 years ago. Women think they love their kids more than their husbands do.
I always think we agree to disagree on that.
I'm like, I don't think Rochelle loves our children more than I do.
I think you love each other. I always say it's just different. I think there are certain things that women will do for their family in the same way there's certain things guys would do for their family that just are not interchangeable. And I would never say that my husband doesn't love his kids, but he does not love them like I do. It's just different. The love is different. The God requires the love to be different. I mean, we're nurturers for a reason. God designed us to be nurturers for a reason. There are certain things I can give my kids.
You know what nurturers do?
What?
Cook.
Yeah, there's more than one way to run nurture. I say you shut the hell up. Nurturers do a lot of things, and nurturers see your ass eats. That's how I look at nurturing. That you eat. I see that you eat. I see that my family eats every day.
That's you just made my point.
No, but you're so simplifying it to cooking and cleaning. I also have a cleaner after 15 years in a house that was, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have a cleaner at Harbor Town. I have a cleaner now. I used to be embarrassed about having a cleaner at Harbor Town. I'm not embarrassed by that mess no more. Everybody has a cleaner.
That's because you're in your 50s.
But so I look at the end product as long as the crap gets done. What difference does it make how it gets done? And then you can say as long as you ain't selling crack, like that's also my thing. I don't care. I don't give a shit what you do for a living to a fault.
As long as it's not illegal or immoral.
It's correct. Yeah. I do not give a crap what you swing your legs over the bed each day to do. As long as it's not illegal, it doesn't compromise my marriage. Don't give a crap. I said shit the first time, but really, I don't give a shit. So we're in this space that we're asking each, and that's what's funny. You're laughing, but that's the only thing I'm saying. If these things get done, what difference does it make how it gets done?
But if you come into it and say, I'm not doing it, that was my whole point. If you come into it and say, I'm not doing it. That's fair.
So you're not bothered as long as my wife figured out, and in this situation, the best person to upkeep my house every whatever number of weeks, it's not a task my husband has to worry about.
So we're on the same page. Hold on. We're not. Because I'm saying is, if you come into, first of all, you're not going to be 22, 23 that can afford
that's correct.
Or whatever.
You're not having a cleaner.
You're not having a cleaner, and you're not. I mean, if you're balling out, but most people are not coming into it that they can have a chef.
Right. I would love that.
Exactly.
Most people cannot do that. I
so
still
I'm
can't
saying
do that.
is, but if you come into it and say, I'm not doing this, my thing is then how is it getting done?
I don't think I can see this generation of children being in a space where they will, I don't think, because there's no role assignments for some of the guys that I know my kids know, I think that they'll work that out differently. I don't think not saying you have an anomaly there, and that may create a space and a problem unless they find someone that's traditional, like I cooked for my man, that's fine. But I think this alpha generation, they don't have, maybe it's that happiness component, but they don't seem to have gender specific roles that they identify, that the eyewitness, that they are like, that catches them up.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I think my children will be with people that are just as happy. I'll use this as an example. I think if she went and played, like threw a softball with her partner and they liked doing things together, that other stuff is going to get meshed together. I don't think they gender assign stuff like we're talking about. Our generation still kind of on some level. More so, like you definitely are like, this is what women do, this is what men do.
No. Yes, I do. Yes, I do to a degree. Men are chefs. So let's just...
Because it's interesting that you just said that. Because like, y'all don't trip when you go out and grill.
I said men are chefs. Yeah. Men grill.
Yeah.
Men grill.
So, yeah. So,
men grill.
You know.
I'm not going to a place there's a woman on the grill.
Y'all, they were like, you're a chauvinist.
I am 100% a chauvinist, but see, I admit it.
Yeah.
Most people are chauvinists and they
I can at least appreciate that.
No. Most people are, but they're afraid to admit it and they hide it.
Authentic self. But I'm saying I can appreciate that. As much as I have known this about you for a very long time, I simply just don't comment on your post. The only time I commented was the one we talked about a few weeks ago where I had to chime in because you were like, what can you do for me? I think it was a video and you were simplifying, like smack her on the ass and she'll be fine. Yeah. And I was like, it's a little bit more complex than that.
Yeah. No. I've always been chauvinistic and sexist, but so are women. They're just afraid to admit it, but they like it when it's convenient for them. Hold the door, pay for the first date. I can go down a list of things that women like that are chauvinistic views because it's self-serving. See, when it's self-serving,
no.
But y'all eat it all up.
Yeah, but it's all self-serving. If you guys.
But if you go in and thing and say, I expect a man to pay for my first date, but I'm not cooking for a man when I get married. Wait a minute, hold on, time out, killer.
Yeah.
Why would he pay? Because you expect him to. Why? Because he's the man.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
No,
see, I'm equal across the board.
Yeah, but I feel like you're not.
No, I am.
But I feel like,
what I say. It's very hard to drive me around as a woman.
But there's certain things as you know, I have my PT guy. You probably wouldn't agree with this, but he has children and his wife just had their third baby and she nurses and he gets up with her and he does the other things so that she can nurse. So because he has no hand in it, right?
I did that. I got up with my children.
So you nursed them?
No, I didn't nurse them. When my sons were crying in the middle of the night,
you got them.
I got them.
You went and got them.
Sleep, rest.
Yeah.
I'm not inhumane.
So you just want somebody to bake you a chicken.
Chocolate cake.
All right.
From scratch.
Yeah, we will probably always agree to disagree on this. I just think.
What I'm saying is, I think I always. It's never a gotcha. I don't try to do gotcha, but I always say most people are sexist.
I just don't think that. I just really struggle with this conversation because while there's the pressures for males to do these things and to present it in the way people like the big house, the nice cars, the good job on paper or whatever it is, and you gave this family a good life. Women, it's more complex than cooking and cleaning. We bear so much of when you say nurturing, yes, you get up with your kid, but like I said, is my kid happy? Are they making friends at school?
Don't you think that's the woman's role?
That's why I don't want to get caught up in cooking and cleaning.
Okay, so then let's agree to this. I do believe, I don't know what time the doctor's appointment is for no influenza shot. Like I have no idea.
So I
agree to that. To me, I'm saying is I don't know. I don't know when the 6 months is for cleaning.
Cooking
teeth.
And cleaning, though, is as simplistic as you saying you got to work. To me, it's just layers of those responsibilities that I don't think it's fair to say you got to cook and clean or you got to be looking for this. Because what if she checks the box on everything else, makes you feel like $1 million, go get it, rock star, lays you every other day, whip something on you Halle Berry style, but she doesn't make roast beef? You're stuck on roast beef?
No, I'm not. But I'm going to be stuck if you say I'm not cooking.
So that's where you get stuck.
Okay? So we can just hear what we ain't doing.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
That's fair.
We can't come in here talking about what I ain't doing.
I don't compare.
I think if you met a son and he said, I'm telling you right now, I ain't never cutting the grass and I am not going downstairs at 2 o'clock in the morning.
The grass thing doesn't bother me.
What I'm saying is you don't have the resources.
You're at 22, 23.
You don't have the resources to make those declarations.
Hire somebody.
I can say it now at 50.
Yeah.
But I'm saying is you cannot come into it talking about what you ain't going to do.
But I can tell you there are so many people, I won't say so many, but I know people today at our age who have partners that don't do those things. It's and they provide, but they do not do those things. They bring money in.
Do they farm it out?
No.
So you're telling me there's a person right now on the face of this earth that if they heard a noise in the basement, their wife would go downstairs and check it out?
Yes.
I don't
say it sucks.
No, I don't even believe that.
You can say it sucks.
No, I don't even believe that.
Okay. I think we will wrap this one up.
I don't even believe that.
Why would I make it up? Why would I make that up? Like, you think I'm just pulling stuff from the sky? I'm being very serious right now. Or someone that was perfectly okay with their partner cutting grass, or someone who's
No. Like my Aunt Rosie cut the grass
because she wanted to.
She liked it. She loved yard work.
Did she like shoveling snow?
No, she was like, you better pay somebody to get to you know what I'm saying? So, but she wanted a snowboard.
Yeah.
This is a true story.
Yeah. And that's a compromise in the space that you go, why should I, as the guy, have to do? But see, I'm also not picky about that crap. I don't care if you hire someone that can come and landscape and cut grass.
Like, let me say here, Twisted. I can't fix cars. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not ever restoring a 69 Camaro. I had to buy one fully done.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here like I'm some man's man.
Yeah.
That is not what I'm saying. Is there are certain things that I don't believe that I can enter a relationship and declare what I'm not doing.
But I can tell you there are males that are okay with what you're saying, and those women are making their choices for their vehicles. Making those choices for those vehicles is also like, well, I want to drive what I want to drive, because you're not helping with the
God
process.
Knows, I'll never buy another woman a car. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't. All you can do is ask me my advice.
Yeah.
But no. I'll never get into that again after my
I definitely think.
marriage.
I think this is worth. I don't even say tabling for a part 2. I just feel like there's such a shade of gray, because you can't live in the standard of provision in the high Luciam home and expect her to work. You can't. And I'm not saying you feel that way, but there are guys that expect their women to work. Expect it. The same way you was like, well, how can you tell me expect to cook? There are dudes that expect their wife to work.
I think, I that's a good one. That's a good one, because you say, hey, how do you see your life? People can say,
I don't want to stay at home mom, wife.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people signed up knowing. I was not 24 years old. Like, well, I'm going to stay at home with my kids.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who say, I don't want my wife to work.
Yeah, and that's not fair on either side, because you kind of, you know what I mean. You kind of, what? No.
Back to what you said. You meet the right person.
But would you meet someone who told you, I don't want to work one day, I just want to stay home and take care of my kids? I don't.
Because there are people.
I didn't say that.
Dr. J.
Oh, he wanted. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. It's out there.
You get what I'm saying?
It's out there.
His mother didn't work.
Yeah.
And he wanted a big family. So yes, there are men out here who says, You are perfect for me.
But she's working now.
The kids are older.
They ain't all like grown.
They're older, but she only works like 2 or 3 days a week.
Well, and that's my situation.
I never said anything about that. Like I never wholeheartedly.
Said that. I do too much here in this house.
First of all, I expected to marry Claire Huxtable. Yeah, so she was going to cook and be hot and
wear her heels and her hair's always done. Her hair's
going to be perfect and all the other stuff. So
there's absolutely no way I could run my household. If I put 80 hours a week or put in 40 hours a week, we would feel that. And I think there's so much slack that women carry that they don't get credit for. Maybe if it's in the same way that guys don't get credit for you go to work. Like, I think it just falls off the radar. How much?
Okay. Yeah. Before we end it, what could your son declare on a biased men's side? Because we're saying cooking and cleaning is a biased women's side. What do you think your son could declare and says, I'm not doing this?
As a guy?
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard one for me. Because I can think of a couple, and I think you and I would look at it crazy, where I think their generation wouldn't care. That's the thing. I
don't know one. I don't know one. And I'm asking for authentic. Like, I'm trying to think of my two sons. What could my sons say that this generation would be okay with? Like, that I would go, you're crazy as hell.
I think it's just a condition thing, because when I have had conversations with all of them, and somewhat individually, I still had one with him when I made a comment that he was like, yeah, I'm not registering being able to cook as a quality, because I think mentally they are not processing in those gender roles. So he's like, yeah, that's not a requirement for me.
Yeah, but it's not a requirement for him. What I'm saying is, what could he state that he's not doing?
Besides not working, and you're saying that's the thing.
And that's my point about the bias for a man versus a woman.
I just don't feel like it exists in the preliminary.
What could he possibly say?
I don't cut grass.
Right, you can live in a condo. You can live in New York.
Yeah, but when you're in a space that you are meeting someone, we are very rarely running into someone who just says, I'm not, like, you don't even want to date. I can't imagine a guy walking up to a girl like, I don't work, and she's 24 years old. I really reiterated that very clearly to my kids.
There's a bias right there. If your daughter told you she was marrying a man who did not work and he wants to be a stay-at-home dad, what would you say?
I think as long as they have a space for provision and he's bringing that to the table, I'm not going to judge that. Would it be my instinct to be like, what? I'm going to tell you there's a significant difference.
If your daughter said, Mom, I plan on making X, Y, and Z a year, and I would love to have kids, but my husband's going to stay home and raise them.
Why do you think that would bother me?
No, I'm asking you.
I don't think that would bother me.
Okay.
But, I mean, is he home raising them?
Well, just like is she home raising them?
I raise them. Well, I don't know. There's people who got nannies. There's people.
No. If he says I'm staying home, I'm
stay home, and he's in the play groups, and he's making. And
he knows when the dentist appointments are.
I think that's great. I'm not caught up. I'm aware that this generation is shifting to that. You may not like that, but this generation is switching to that, and I love that, because it's also a place of mutual respect, and the lack of when you're lacking expectation from the other person in those components, I think you have potential for a more successful relationship and less divorce, because a lot of that,
because you're not societal.
No, it's social pressures.
Yep.
Yeah. I absolutely think
because we would tease the shit out of him in our cigar bars.
Or like, you ain't got a job. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that I would react that way. You're asking me about my kids or me. I'm like, he ain't got a job. But I also knew a person who's like, I got this ring from my husband, my fiance, and then one day I saw it and it looked different.
Ooh.
And she wasn't big enough.
Do you think women should ask men to marry women? The women should ask men to marry?
No, I'm traditional in that way. And I remember an old pastor that said that even asking the guy out first is out of order. So, I don't know.
See these biases that I tell everybody, if we just keep them all the same on the same fray, then we don't have to crash, because now it's, well, yeah, you can do this, honey. Like you just said, you can marry a man and he could be a stay-at-home father, but you better not ask him to marry you.
Yeah.
Like, make that make sense.
Yeah, I think, I don't think you would, I would hope that they would never date someone in the dating frame. If he said, one day I want to be at home with my kids, she's got to decide whether that's a turn off for her. But I'm telling you.
And she might say, ooh, yes.
Yeah. Especially if she's career oriented.
And you're okay with that as a mother.
I think if she's, I'm good if she's good.
But if you said, oh, so how did y'all meet? And she goes, oh, he came into the farmer's market and I thought, oh, he's hot. I'm going to ask him out.
So is she writing the bills and paying the money? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
See?
I don't know.
See? Look what's coming out.
No, I don't.
Your biases.
No, I don't. I think meeting someone as a guy or a girl and being in a situation where you know what your things are and you create a space that you're saying, I have like I dated a guy that I only went out with him once because I didn't like his money wasn't in a wallet. Like he pulled his money out of his pocket and it was all crumpled up and stuff. And I was like, oh.
You know what you could have did?
What? Bought him a wallet?
No.
What?
You could have helped him.
Helped him how? Straighten his money?
Absolutely.
And then he proceeded to say, well, your half comes too. And I was like, well, I have a dog at the time. What? Yeah, he didn't even
pay. He invited you out.
He invited me out, but he did not pay for the meal. That was the last time we went out. And I cut the date short then. I was like, well, I think I got to go my mom just said the dog needs to, I didn't have a dog. Right. But I did, but it was visiting. It was my brother's dog. And I was like, oh, I got to go home and deal with the dog. So I got to cut this short. And
did you pay your half?
I paid my half.
Okay.
I paid my half.
So in that scenario,
I walked out.
In that scenario, ladies, why can't you have a conversation and say, hey, look, you seem like a really nice guy. You really do. The conversation was good. However, I got to be honest. The fact that your money's all crumpled up in your hand, it seems like it gives me a message of disheveled and you're not a steward of your money. Right. And you asked me out. Why would you think I would pay?
Well, there's some double standards in the space that I think, and I'll say, I asked my husband out the first time, and he still paid for dinner.
Okay.
Like, I didn't expect that. He still paid, he came and picked me up, and we went, and that was unusual for me, because I usually do the whole let's meet, because I don't really know where,
I drive my own car.
Right, you don't know what's going to happen. And I was like, this is unusual, and I went with it, and he picked me up, and we had a great time, but I was the one like, hey, do you want to go get a beer? I was the one that was the initiator.
So I'm saying is in that scenario, that crumpled money man could have just used your authentic gifts to help him get to
I don't think at 22 or 23 years old, I think I was pretty self-aware.
Look at your son. Look at my son.
Yeah.
Very astute with money.
And honestly, I thought it at the time. Why I couldn't articulate that, I don't know. Because I did think it at the time. Like, what the heck is this? Like, why don't you have a wallet?
And I was thinking, son, first of all, let's turn your money all the same direction.
Yeah.
And let's uncrinkle this. And let's fold it. And
I wasn't
maybe if we go further, I'm going to get you a money clip and
no. But don't you think there's always a little something in those preliminaries that help you decide that that's not your person?
I think sometimes we're so quick to run where I dated someone who told me that she would not go out with a man who wore V-neck T-shirts. She's still single. And then I also know someone who was like, well, his belt didn't match his shoes. Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
You get what I'm saying? Well, then help me.
Yeah.
Help me. If I don't know, I don't know.
I wouldn't call off a date because of a V-neck or because your belt don't match your shoes. That's not, to me, that's a rap that unfortunately women get that probably escalates the whole gender, the whole idea.
Yeah. But I always say, if you have a gift, if you say, hey, I am a steward of my money, I am very good.
I think you can look at someone and say, there's potential here when you date someone. And it may,
absolutely.
But where we draw the line on, there are absolutes now that are like, this didn't bother you before, or this is a conversation we had when you knew. Like, if you know me, I've never been a cooker. So expecting it in a marriage, if that is what you're looking for. But if a guy
says, you know what, can I ask you a question? Why don't you cook? And you say your reason.
Which at 48 was a lot easier to say. I had some reasons and ideas of why that might be. But at the time, I don't know. That parameter didn't seem important to me in the space. Now, if that was an issue, then there should be no more dates. Because I'm like, well, you can't date someone expecting that something's going to change.
No, but if he says, oh, I really like to cook with my person, and I think it's fun and it's sexy.
No, I don't think I would have been against that. Yeah. Or I would not be against that. Right. Or whatever. Yeah. If someone was like, I think a woman should cook, we're dealing with something different. That's a different beast.
Because there's an expectation.
Sure, I think maybe that's it right there is expectation.
Okay.
And my brother always used to say, people need to write down their expectations. And then whether you negotiate that or you go, oh, then this ain't going to work.
Yeah, if you got a lot of X's next to those. Yeah.
Because I think that's where we get caught up in,
And I am in unapologetic sexist.
Oh,
I am. I know I am. I know.
I scroll through. I'll be like, okay.
You can comment. I tell you, and now at 50, I don't give two shits.
And you'll find your person or have your person, and they'll be able to live with that. Yeah. And some of those things that she probably will lean into as qualities.
Yeah. Let me tell you. I'm gonna tell you another one. You're gonna laugh. I don't know why women answer the door if they have a husband. Why are you answering the door if your husband's home?
Oh my gosh. I wish this was one that people could call in.
Why are you answering the door? Your husband is supposed to answer the door.
I never even thought that was an etiquette.
It's a safety thing.
I agree, but I never really thought about that. Yes. So yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a I was getting ready to say Esther, but I can't use that name. There's an old woman named Brenda out here listening to this is loving me right now.
Let me look his number up. We had a call a type thing, and you're like, what is his phone number? I'd like to get to know him. And there is.
God, that is funny.
Brenda.
Okay.
Brenda.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, we're gonna wrap this up now. We're gonna agree to disagree, and pressing forward. You guys have a great weekend. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.